earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Tao group call. Starting off a little bit creative today. I'm starting off with a story, and there's a reason why my camera is off. Last week, we had a fantastic call with 4 people, 2 women, 2 men, Angele, Christian, Randall, and myself. And during that call, I made reference to something that basically is the nectar of bees. And then I turned around and actually pointed the finger at Randall, saying that Randall created that particular thought, taking complete responsibility off myself. So at that moment, I realized that that was a bit of an error on my part, and that I was speaking with Randall between shows, and I said, what should I do about that? And so he gave me a suggestion. And so I decided that I was going to, dress in a very appropriate attire. So I have been offered to dress in a type of a suit that resembles perhaps a genie or something of that nature. So that's what I'm wearing today. Notice lots of gold threads and things in there. This was actually a gift given to me many, many years ago from a friend who came from Pakistan. And so that's what he was giving to me. But the idea here is we wanted to talk and continue the theme of what would it be like to create a future that we want to generate, that we want to create, coming from a place of comfort income for everyone. And what can we imagine? What can we bring forward? So on today's show, we've got a few new faces. We want to welcome Baret. How do I say your last name, Baret? Juman?
Tunian is fine. Tunian.
Tunian, very good, thank you. We have also a new member to our group, Hamid. Hamid, welcome.
Thank you very much for actually pronouncing my name correctly. That's usually not done. And you're welcome.
I avoided the last name because I was afraid that I was going to say it wrong. How do I say your last name?
Bagay.
Bagay?
Yes.
All right.
Usually people don't get my first name right. So, I never speak my last name. So, but getting my first name right is a big deal. So thank you.
And we welcome Randall Shoe to the show. Very nice shoe there. We're going to have a really big shoe, really, really big shoe.
Well, I noticed that 107 came back into the mix last week. I didn't watch his show. He's a very creative man. So I thought I'd just start off with a little 207 or 007. But I only have one shoe up there. Otherwise, I might fall over on the bench. So.
Is that a flower next to your foot there?
Yeah, there's flowers everywhere.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Well, welcome, Randall, and welcome, Angele, who happens to be the only female in our group today.
Hello, here I am.
Awesome. Well, welcome, everyone. It is good to have you all here. And I wanted to start off with something that we talked about last week with Angele and Christian and Randall. Angele, you were saying something last week where we were speaking about, we were talking about obviously the vision of the future where, if everyone had comfort income and we brought in this new lifestyle that we're all seeking and looking forward to. You'd mentioned that you had a vision back in around 2012, and I never asked you about that. And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that. Can you share what that vision was and how you came to that vision?
Yeah, it's funny, you prepared me for this question, and now that it's here, my heart says, but the date is actually October 25th, 2012. So I do remember the date. It was a very dramatic time. I mean, I'm going to just try and put it in a nutshell, keep it kind of short. I guess it is kind of relevant because it sort of helps maybe to understand how I've come through my own experience to understand human consciousness, because to me, that is the conversation that I would love to see out in the wider world. But I was on I made a personal, very sincere and in high intent decision for self-actualization. Like, I'm serious. I really was quite sincere and very driven to understand what is possible for a human being. And in that process, you know, as you put an intention, you don't, I didn't know how it was going to come through, but it started out as being a very, very chaotic experience, which landed me locked up. So I was locked up in a psychiatric institution. As all this energy starts to flow through my body, like I was absolutely wiped. But in the process of being in this altered state of consciousness, you know, I would say this is a natural event. It doesn't have to be so chaotic, but in my case, it really was. And I understand part of why is some of the beliefs you hold within. Like, I was trained as a physician. So with those beliefs in place, as this started coming in, I actually was getting scared. So you're kind of scared of yourself, you know, in this process. When you start having all that energy flowing through your body, then all of a sudden stuff has to purge out. So it looks pretty crazy. And then, you know, the illusion of knowledge, you know, I think that really drove home. Here's a whole system that thinks they know something that they know nothing about, with no experience. I actually am an expert in what medicine would call psychosis. So this is in the psychosis state. I was shown, I mean, I'm having all this, and I should, you know, so of course it took me months and years to reflect and really try to harvest what happened. But I was really like amazed. I'm just like, wow, you know, shown, like literally feeling this sort of telepathic communication with, I would say, I don't know if it's a higher version of myself or higher consciousness, but talking about how the earth is a little bit functioning at a suboptimal rate based on not understanding what was possible. So I'm being shown very clearly, I'm walking through hospitals that are empty. So that was a clear part of that vision. So again, I'm in this altered state. It didn't last long. You know, I was kind of pounded back down to earth with pharmaceuticals, which nearly killed me, but I did survive. So I know this is not something that you know, it's not a lovely thing to talk about. However, like, once I was shown, and I think I did mention probably as clearly as I can last time, is just that idea that when we are in our natural state, we are actually high integrity, but of course there's a lot of purging out of stuff, whether that's, I don't know, everyone's got different belief systems, but past life energies. One way I like to think of it too is that when you think of what is a human being and what is reality, well, a human being is quite a multidimensional thing. It's electromagnetic, and we're all, there's certain entanglements and connections if we're all connected. So the idea, maybe it's not past life, but it's existing. So you get, all of a sudden, you know, your little microscope turns into a telescope. So now you're aware of all these energies. So it may not be me or my past life, but all of a sudden, all this trauma and wounding and scariness, you know, comes into your awareness. So it's very overwhelming. Physically, the energy rushing through my body. But I guess, you know, this idea that when everyone is natural and clear in who they are, we will naturally just look after ourselves and each other. And the idea that there's a job for, and I guess just specifically, I do remember the details were garbage and health. You know, the idea that, you know, people, if we all look after, you know, when you have a garbage, you put it where it belongs. Whereas in this world right now, that isn't actually so common. I've spent hours upon hours just picking up other people's garbage because I like to see a world without garbage. And then the health thing, that the idea that the hospitals would be empty. And I was literally walking, I felt myself walking through, I was actually in the Grey Nuns Hospital in Edmonton, and there was nobody there. And there were tables, and on the tables were pamphlets, like driving service. Some people love to drive, like, you know, Uber driver, whatever. So, and then in this experience, I actually thought, wow, this is so cool. I'm going to call a driver and I'm going to go on a trip. Like, the idea that, and I was showing, oh yeah, you want to fly? You'll just go on the plane. And I know this sounds so fantastical, but as I kind of poured through it, I felt this is possible. We would all be able to choose what we feel to do. If a job doesn't, if nobody wants to do the job, then we have to get creative and find a way where we don't need the job, or we all take turns doing those less favored jobs. Does that answer your question? I guess I don't want to get too too much information that may not be helpful to our discussion today, because basically I'm committed to help people have a conscious awareness of choice. Let's dream a new dream. We're basically playing out someone else's dream from generations ago. So that's my bottom line message.
Thank you, Angele. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Dreaming a new dream, that seems to kind of be the theme of today's show. Is, you know, we know about the dark things that we experience in our current lives through the transition that we're going through, some of the things that we're seeing, maybe even having a personal experience of it. Yet, you know, if we focus on those things, do we not just generate more of that? So if we want to see something different, we want to see a change, we want to see or have a different experience, would it not be helpful to focus on things that we do want? And what kinds of, and that's sort of what I'm putting forward today is, what kind of things would you like to see? And I'm going to jump to Randall here and ask Randall a direct question. I know that Randall's talked a few times about having projects, like having specific projects, humanitarian projects. And I know that he has a few of his own, and I don't think I've ever asked you, Randall, and I don't know if it's, you know, top secret, and please stop me if I'm, you know, crossing a boundary here, but are there some projects that you would be willing to share as to what you would like to do, what you'd like to generate, what you'd like to see in this world after the transition happens financially?
Wow, that's cool. Thank you so much, Angele. Like your experience was duplicated by a trip to the I like to call it the loony bin, because I just like to say that, you know, because I was there one time too, and it was like a couple-week trip and very interesting experience out of the realm, you know, getting direct messages like you said. But now I still get them, but I just kind of keep them to myself, and I, you know, I'll share it as a coincidence or a miracle once in a while. But yeah, there's direct natural activation to something outside of ourselves that gives us this role. And yeah, it's beautiful. Once you realize that, then take on a big role, you know. And my big role has been in the world of completely comprehending the ridiculousness of the system, the limiting system that was set up when there is nothing but abundance, and there is, you know, no such thing as debt. It's all credit in the credit debit system. It all started with one little lie where a king had gold and he was trying to pass it around, and he says, well, listen, nobody's going to know how much I got, so I'll just give him a piece of paper instead. And that one little lie turned into what we got, or what we had, sorry, on this earth for the last, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred years, who knows how long. I don't get into that time thing much, but it's all deception. So yes, we are moving to a asset-backed system again, and that's going to provide project funding. And one of those projects is what we term government, right? So governments are all corporations. They have all been working together under one realm, trying to keep us in this separation and communism versus capitalism, spy versus spy story. I love that one with those two little spy versus spy guys. And it's all just a gong show story, you know, it's all just a narrative to keep us distracted from the truth of abundance and sovereignty and health and love and euphoria, you know, all that stuff. So I'll answer your question kind of quickly, William. Like, my project in my mind has always been healthy food and natural food, getting away from, you know, the tiny bits of heavy metals basically that are involved in pesticides and herbicides and, you know, injections into animals and everything else that we've done, and preservatives on the food. So, you know, it's all based on that natural food process, our projects. And I'll leave it at that and just say, you know, like, we're good. You know, it's happening. And all of these stories that we want to create about Donald Trump or Nasara and Jasara and all, you know, everything else that people can drag into it, it's all fine. Bottom line is, we're moving away from that deceptive story of credit and debt ridiculous notion into an asset-backed economy again in the world. And it's beautiful to see it unfold. And I try to, talk about it on my videos. I'm not sure how many people actually can comprehend it before going back to, daily life, which is survival and things like that, because we got sucked into that other mess. But it's changing. And, our buddy Donald Trump is the front man trying to help ease us into it, even though he's still telling some kind of stories and fibs himself, but whatever, it's all part of the process. And enjoy, guys, because we've got this. We've done it together. We've stepped away from that old narrative and moved into the new world. The new world being a human construct of abundance, which is in harmony with all of nature. Nature beat us to it, we're just lagging a little bit, but now we're there, and we're going to have all of this stuff that I talk about and so much more. So I'll throw it back to you, William.
Thanks, Randall. I'm curious, I forgot to mention to our new gentleman that before we started recording, if anytime you feel the urge to want to share something, just wave. I see you in the small cams up above, and then I'll call upon you, and we'll definitely get you on camera here. But I'm going to actually lead the next question here to Baret, because Baret was sharing something with me, and then I'm going to meet immediately after. Is you were saying something as I was getting acquainted with you, because we hadn't met prior to about 15 minutes ago. So you were sharing about where you currently live and the departure from where you used to be. And to me, I thought that was kind of an interesting story and almost kind of fit into what we're talking about here, because you've moved it yourself into a whole new type of an environment. Is that accurate?
It is, and there was a huge celebration for me in 2009, and I wasn't sure what the celebration was all about, but I was so excited about the prospects of coming to Bulgaria. And when I arrived, it was great to be here, but it took me another couple of years to find out the role that I'm supposed to be playing here in Bulgaria. And the kind of downloads I got was like to kind of introduce the 0 point energy, and with all these timelines sort of collapsing, and to bring about this 5D reality, whereby my vision particularly is I don't see hospitals at all. They would just fall apart. We'll have things like healing domes and things like that. So I'm putting my hand and heart onto these sort of structures. I see an end of the schooling system, the way it's all orchestrated, which is all mind control. So cemeteries and things, churches, they just don't exist anymore. The money thing, yeah, I mean, I get that, the initiation, because people want to feel that they don't need to work anymore, because that's kind of enslavement. So if you've got a bit of money. But for me, it's all about community service. And what I've been doing in the last 10 years is kindness. So if you really put yourself out and to feel the pain of another sentient being, I was very fortunate in the sense that I was there for my mum when she was in crisis mode with her sickness, cancer, and to actually give her that helping hand and for her to get through it emotionally and not do the chemo, and to be in a phenomenal position where she fully recovered. And she knocked the cancer on the head, and that was quite a boost for me. And I became more conscious about how sicknesses develop and the kind of blockages that occur, whether it's on a physical, etheric, emotional, mental, or on a spiritual level. So I'm kind of like reaching out to people and feeling their anxieties, and their biggest issue is not knowing why they exist. So when you are in a situation where I had an incredible awakening a couple of years back, connecting with my non-biological parents, to have this omni experience of knowing why I exist on the planet, what my particular role is going to be, is going to be introducing this 5D reality. And we're all doing it, certainly on this platform and many platforms. And you know, we've got phenomenal representation on the planet as we speak, and we're all voicing it. And I'm just so excited to be part of it. And it's here. It's already here. The 5D. It's not a case of, you know. It's like raising your vibration. You know, and nature is certainly a place where it enhances and takes you to that level. But for me, I think the greatest pain why people are suffering is not knowing why, you know, in this hologram, what's it all about? And in a nutshell, you know, it's being projected down from your soul, and this vessel that you're using, it helps the soul to grow to a much higher perspective. So, you know, that's the evolution of, you know, I've kept it really sort of mechanics of how it works in a very simple, broad term breakdown. But that's how it is for me. That's my observation and perspective of what's happening. But it's incredibly exciting times. I'm seeing phenomenal results around me. You know, just being kind and authentic, and to feel the pain of somebody else, and they just want to give back, whether it's energy, whether it's like if they see something that you need. And it's, for me personally, it's never been the money. It's, you know, and I don't do it for reward, simply because my ego sort of dissolved very quickly, and my soul thing took control. So really blessed to be in this phenomenal position, really, you know.
Awesome, Baret. Thank you for that sharing. There's a lot of things we can unpack from that, and I'm going to jump back to you definitely in a little bit, but I wanted to give Hamid a chance because he wanted to say something a little bit earlier. Hamid, welcome first of all to the Dow group, and looking forward to your comments. What do you have for us?
Thank you. I wanted to address the future, has something to do with what Randall said. To me, some things are so much in the future that they are ancient. And to me, the greatest blueprint that we have for our future is human body. There is an amazing book that Dr. Bruce Lipton wrote. It's called The Spontaneous Evolution, I think. So in this book, Dr. Bruce Lipton speaks about how does human body work? Because this is one of the biggest issues we have on this planet. You know, Randall speaks about this a lot. Communism and capitalism and socialism and all these economies are all garbage. None of them works. What is the way to go? So Dr. Bruce Lipton speaks about how does the body handle economy. And your body has this thing called ATP, which is actually in biology terms called energy coin. And let's investigate how does this energy gets around the body. So one question is, okay, well, maybe some energy cells, some cells get the ATP energy and some don't. That's not true. Every cell gets it. So it's not capitalism. Everybody, every single cell gets it. Okay, then great. Then let's look at it and see how do they each get the same amount? Like communism that says, okay, everybody should get the same thing. No, that's not the case. Cells get different levels of ATP based on how important and critical they are for the body. What does that mean? That means a cell, which is incredibly important, like a nerve cell, gets 250 times more ATP than a skin cell, because you lose 50,000 skin cells a day and you don't even know it. But if you lose 10 nerve cells, you may not be able to move your finger. So cells get paid based on their level of importance to the body. Then the question is, okay, then what happens when a cell gets paid more than it wants, more than it needs? At that point, the cell does not hoard the energy, it actually puts it out. So when a cell reaches what it needs and what it enjoys and what feels good about, it puts it all out. Which means that you and I, every single person, is not actually, we are not using, when I move my hand, I'm not using the energy of my hand. I am using the surplus energy that my cells put out. So in a future economy, that's what we'll be doing. If I look at Earth, if I really want to see what happens to a future Earth when we are an enlightened one organism, that would be our economy. Our economy would be based on merit. There would be no greed, and everything would be available to everybody, but nobody would be useless. And there's something else about governance that I can talk about later. But basically, to me, we don't really need to go and look at some kind of odd model that some human came up with. We can look at human body, that it's been the magnificent masterpiece it is, and how it works, and learn from it.
Awesome, Hamid. Thank you. That basically using whatever exists in a different form and just adapting it to the monetary side, if you will, and more than that. But that sounds to me what you're basically saying here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. I saw Baret nodding a little bit. Baret, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was phenomenal, Hamid, because I'm into the practices of spiritual merit. When you do, and I genuinely feel we're all on the same page here, when you put yourself out and not looking for reward, and you're really authentic, it's incredible what you get in return. And I think fundamentally it's like when you free the mind of another being that's trapped, if it's victimhood or whatever it may be. For me, I don't do, for me, in order to, the opposing polarities, you've got to understand how it all works, the mechanics, because you can't have male without a female. You need the masculine, the feminine, you need, day and night, and so black and white, blah, blah, blah. So what you need is neutrality. You have to just stay as an observer and not get wrapped into the program, and you'll see phenomenal, magnificent changes. And I genuinely speak from my own personal experience here. So I can bring a lot of this onto the table, and it won't shock anyone in this room, that's for sure. I think it's just fantastic.
Well, I'm curious actually, because of some of the things you said in your introductory comments, based on where you are, what you've seen, what you've worked through. You made some fascinating comments. I'm just wondering about, it sounds to me like you've already had some personal physical experiences, actual tangible experiences of some things that even Hamid was alluding to. Can you share an example with us, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like just being in the presence of, like, when I went into whether it was meditation, out of body experience, I don't know what it was, but having had the opportunity to meet my non-biological parents, and I just felt everything fell into place, and I just felt that things just are going to accelerate now, and I'm so privileged to know the role that I'll be playing in the brand, because I'm not here to basically teach anything. I'm just here to help reactivate and upgrade the system. from the 3D to the 5D. And there are so many people like myself right now, and we're going to be mentors. So this government, we're not here to govern people anymore. A mentor is when your body becomes more crystalline and you're giving off this frequency where when you're in the company of someone, you see a bit of a glow and you'll be uplifted immediately. And the impression and signature that you're leaving, every footprint that you're leaving, you're raising the vibration of the place. So it's a very Christ conscious attitude towards, and that's being such empathetic towards not just humans, but every living organism on the planet. So that includes plants, trees, animals, and, you know, and everything will be upgraded to a much higher perspective. But I've had this incredible connection with my non-biological parents. It was like a central sun, the core of the earth. And I had this incredible telepathic communication where it was just here and now. It's not like you wait for something to happen. It's just instant. And my life's never been the same since. It's been phenomenally brilliant. And wherever I go, I get like, you know, people just want to, you know, hugging is so important. Because your body's a biofeedback machine. So if you're in the presence of someone and they want to hug you, that's just saying that you're doing it. You're walking the talk. It's, you know, you're not pretending. You know, it's genuine. People are feeling so good to be in your company. And that's what raising the frequency is all about. And it's, people get excited to be inside.
I keep thinking about perhaps that there are people currently on this planet in this dimension who maybe didn't really know what their life was for, or why they were here, or never felt like they fit in. You know, and now as times are changing, are you seeing more and more people who all of a sudden are saying, now I know what I'm here for?
Yeah, and the synchronicity is unbelievable. It's like, apparently in my previous life, I was a Bulgarian individual, part of the White Brotherhood movement. And I'm here to finish my project. And apparently Bulgaria will launch something huge. And it's not going to be called Bulgaria, it's Mother Earth. So, you know, all these divisions of borders and things, there's only going to be one religion in there, and it's called love. There's only going to be one flag, which is Mother Earth. So I'm just so excited to be here and so present, 100% present, because I love being who I am. And, you know, I'm just enjoying the ride and having this incredibly beautiful effect on people, and just just being in your authenticity and knowing why you exist. That's enough. The knowing is so powerful. You don't have to prove your worthiness. It's just the fact that you're aware. You can keep your mouth shut and people are excited. You can kick ass by not even talking in the most positive way. So, and animals and babies and kids, they smile, they come to you, and you're not actually saying anything. So you're getting the feedback all around. The birds, I mean, we get loads of birds coming here on our house, because they love the energy. You're a magnet. So, but it's really exciting times.
You shared a lot there. I had a call earlier this week with another member from our DAO group who's not on the call today, Lee Mudders. And we were talking about something related to, you know, a system called GPMS. And what came to me, like every once in a while when someone's speaking, I'll get a picture of something visual. I'm a bit of a visual thinker. And what I was starting to get, while he was sharing about how the money system could work in the future, where there isn't a governance and there isn't a one leader or anything like that, I got the picture of the freedom of children. where the kids, you know, when we were kids, we just played, we just did what we did, and we did it spontaneously. We did it in the moment. We did it for fun. If we played store, you know, we'd make things up on the spot. You know, oh, that dress is $1 million. Oh, thank you, $1 million. Thank you so much. All right. And you, sir, what would you like today? Okay, that's 25 cents. Yeah, thank you very much. And you just, you know, you just made it up, and you know, you made your own rules and you made things as you went, but it was all organic. It was all free flowing. It was, there were no limits, there were no rules. And it occurred to me that perhaps we've had it backwards this whole time, whereas the adults were always stifling the children and putting conditions on the children. Oh, no, we can't do that, or we have to do it this way, or this is what you have to do when you grow up and become an adult because you have to be responsible. Where in fact, maybe we need to be less, maybe not irresponsible, I'm not saying that, but more open to the freedom of flow and the freedom of just letting things be. I had the Beatles song was another thing I wanted to share a couple of lyrics from, and the song Let It Be. And I love that song. And it was, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Yeah, Hamid.
I actually find play one of the highest states of consciousness. And I have a sort of a definition of play. Play to me is a state of being where you don't care about, you don't have an agenda. So when you play with something, you're not going towards some goal. You know, you push a button or pull a lever and you don't know what's going to happen. I'm like a gamer. I love playing, you know, video games, and I love playing with things. And what you're saying, it's about state of being in a state of play. It's, I consider universe as a state of play. I consider this world is a dance. And when you look at the people who are running the cabal or this world, they are extremely serious. The more serious, like I love Randall, he's my buddy, because he's never serious. Even if he's like hurting, he's not serious. And taking yourself so seriously is a really bad sign. I can't really be, you know, I like to say what Woody Allen said, I won't be part of any group that would have me as a member of them. Like, I just like to be playful, right? And play, as you said, children play. They like to be in a state of play. They don't have an agenda. And it reminds me of something that, you know, I love always to quote, and is that the difference between infinite players and finite players. Finite players play to win. Infinite players play to keep playing. Finite players play within the rules. Infinite players play with the rules. And kind of like, you know, everything we do, if you bring the state of play to it, it changes it. I almost coined the term play attention. I don't say pay attention. I say play attention. Because when you pay attention, you're paying. You have to do this thing, which is really serious and hard. But play attention, it's like, I would play with my attention whether or not I pay. Like, you know, whether or not I want to watch CNN 24/7 and hours, I'm not going to pay attention to that. I'm going to play with attention.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned Randall, and I'm looking up at Randall's camera here, and he's smiling from ear to ear, and I'm going, there ain't nobody I know better that likes to show play in his videos, especially, than Randall. So Randall, you must have something to say about this kind of stuff. This is pretty juicy bits.
Oh my goodness, it's so wonderful, you guys. And I mean, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I spend a lot of time alone, and I just play with nature because I know that that's real, right? The rest of it is just stories, you know, the human world, as we call it. The word world has nothing to do with Mother Earth. That is the separation that Barrett was talking about, you know, like countries, what the hell is that? You know, like I live on Mother Earth, like you say. But all of those constructs that we've created in this world of man all I can do as I learn more and more about them is just laugh. And it pisses people off. I'm telling you, you get up into the realms of banking where I work in and talk to, you know, family members and banking family members and even high level intelligent officials within the bank, you know, physically that I visit with. And God, they can get pissed off. And I, you know, my challenge is to not be condescending and to not come across as arrogant or to come across as, you know, a know-it-all or whatever. But it's like, come on, you guys, like, seriously, you're gonna tell all these stories and you think that you're gonna keep people believing that forever? I mean, there is definitely a lot of vulnerability or gullibility, I would call it more, you know, in the minds of the masses due to programming. But like, really, you know, like, we've got these bloody stories out there that are just stories, and it's so beautiful to just get away from it. So I wanted to just give kudos to Hamid's beautiful story about natural distribution of energy and the economy of the cells. And that's not just the human being, but that's, you know, we can bring that story to the one organism that we are, the human being, and then expand that into, well, shit, now that we know that, we can actually harmonize with Mother Nature and this heavenly plane of existence that we live on, and just say, well, it's all just one story, you know? And if we want to keep separating ourselves out as humans or as, you know, Bosnians or Canadians or whatever, it just keeps going back the other direction to this world of stories. Well, then fuck it. I'm just going to go play in the nature again, you know, like, and that's what I do every day. Yeah, I go on the phone and I talk to a whole bunch of people and I try to encourage and stuff and tell my little story of, you know, if we're this far along in some kind of a medium of exchange, rather than just living like a bee or a coyote, you know, what can we get from what we have now in that world of man, that construct of buildings and roads and stuff like that? What can we take from that and build on it, you know, because that's what it's about. And get rid of the limitations. But at the same time, I loved what Hamid said there about, you know, one cell has capacity to do more, so it gets more of that energy. But then when it gets it, it just expands and duplicates itself anyway. So there's no ownership and there's no hoarding or keeping. So that was a beautiful way of putting it, Hamid. And, you know, that was a wonderful story. You know, I think I've heard bits of that before when you and I've talked to me, but you put it together in such a nice way this time that I really appreciate that. I think we're missing out on Angele. She's got to have something in the background there that she wants to talk about. So
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Angele, we're talking about play. What kind of?
Yeah, oh, I know. Play. I'm very similar to Randall in that I find my way to play, and I'm very lighthearted. But like, I really appreciate meeting you, Baret, because in your expression so far today, it really makes me aware of how I feel exactly as you do, but I wasn't able to, and I'm a little like almost nervous to be myself. Like, that's been a theme for me. And, you know, I live in a city. I wanted to draw attention to Baret living in a smaller rural, and growing food, I think, is a part of your day, if I've got that right. And, you know, and that concept of food as medicine, it's just so powerful. And my projects are growing strawberries, you know, thinking of food sovereignty for every region. Like I happen to live in a city called Edmonton, and I kind of put it all on the line to the point where I have like $100 to my name right now to spend, although I have a little bit tucked away, not very much, because I all of a sudden recognize there's no reason to hoard. I put my money where my mouth was, and I invested in a large project of growing strawberries for this region. And I guess, you know, I think Baret is such a beautiful example to show this state of being. I think Hamid talked about that too. This is a state of being that is possible for every single human being. So I do feel that choice and that awareness is just not available to people. They're so distracted by other type of narratives. So that state of being issue, I just wanted to add one of my favorite little analogies too, is when you think of, as you're riding the dial to pick a radio station, it's very, I think it's very like that in consciousness as well. We've got a narrative kind of at this radio station. So everyone's getting distracted and trained. And there might even be some electromagnetic forces that are kind of helping you to stay there. So once you are in this new state of being, well, that's a whole new radio station. So I just thought I'd throw that out because I can appreciate when someone really has never heard this kind of stuff. Going, what the F are these people talking about? But I mean, once you've had the experience yourself, that presence and being is just, I wanted to add the word emanation to add to what Baret had shared. Like, it's kind of a funny, when it came to me directly, like when you get these direct little messages there, it just feels so good. You know, if you've never had this kind of receiving of, whether it's telepathy or just myself talking to myself, it doesn't matter. It feels really good. There's this high vibrational energetic feeling. You feel so at peace, and you're like, so emanation, it kind of threw me a little bit, that word, but I really think it's a good word to consider. A human being in its natural, empowered, for lack of a better word, but I mean a natural state of being in tune with themselves and with nature. There is, for lack of a better word, emanation is occurring. It is passive, kind of passive when you think of this whole idea, I need to work hard to make money so that I can survive and be safe and provide for my family. I mean, that's all belief systems. But anyway, this emanation is a state of being. It is too simple to be true, but it is simple and is true. But it's not in the awareness of many, many people. I also wanted to speak one other thing. I mean, Hamid mentioned the word merit, kind of just, it caught me a little bit. Like, I know we all can define every word in different ways, but the idea of merit, I think, catches people in the sense that a very common core wound that human beings existing today have is that I'm not worthy, you know, deep in their subconscious beliefs, that there it is. So, I mean, I almost thought a better word in that scenario might be equity, like the idea that when someone needs the energy, it would be there, you know, it's going to be meeting the needs. And it's not about merit, it's just about kind of that natural tendency. Oh, this one needs more energy than that cell, so that one's going to get more energy than that cell, because we can make more energy. It is infinite. And there's just so many belief systems that help to limit us. And one of them is even needing food. You know, that one's kind of a little bit controversial for different people. But, you know, you get to this state of being where you're emanating and you create your own energy. And I really play with that. I kind of enjoy eating. I like sensual experiences, and eating is one of them. So I might put my eating into 2 hours of the day, you know, that intermittent fasting, which I've been doing for a couple of years. And I know people often just get so struck, like, oh, how can you be working? Well, there has to be another energy source, because I know it's not food. I know from my own experience, because I've been experimenting. So I just think curiosity, playful, lighthearted curiosity, like if you know that you can power this beautiful technology, our bodies, in another way, would you not want to experiment with that, or would you not want to play around with that? And I certainly do. And I think it's pretty cool. We got this cool technology, and I'm learning how to use it, and I love it. So that's my addition for this moment.
Well, go ahead, Hamid. I see you wanting to.
Yeah, I want to complete what I said, going back to what Randall said. So my whole journey with this happened many years ago. I read an article by Dr. Elizabeth Saturis, and that was about, you know, when you see a part of cells running around and going crazy and saying, oh, the world is going to come to an end. Oh my God. And an organism starts eating 400 times its weight and is decrepit and disgusting. Then there are imaginal cells. This is actually a term in biology, that are celebrating creating the infrastructure of the butterfly. That's what happens in a butterfly. Then the cells run around and go crazy and think the world is coming to an end. The imaginal cells like us get together and create the infrastructure of the butterfly. And the thing is, what does it define that a cell in a body is functioning? Because we are not right now at the point to be there, to be part of the human organism the way a body is, because there are triple bottom lines each cell in a human body has. One, it thinks of itself and has the most amazing time. It enjoys being itself. Two, it does well with its community. Three, is in service of something bigger. So each cell in your body has these qualities. It thinks of itself, it's good with other cells, and it's in service of the whole body. If one of these qualities is missing, then that cell is seriously problematic. And this is, and then Dr. David Gruder has a book called The IQ, the New IQ, which is, these are the same qualities that the human has. When we are thinking about our future and our development, our connection and our impact. And what happens in cells that own corporations and governments is that they have separation consciousness. We have unity consciousness. They have separation consciousness. In a human body, when separation consciousness happens, that is translated into cancer. And Dr. Saturis goes around the planet and tells the heads of the corporations and governments that you are the cancer of the planet. Not only you're killing yourself, you're killing the planet.
So,
Brilliant.
yeah, and interesting too, because I've been involved in the world of business to a certain degree, and you know, running my own small businesses. And I just had a realization just recently, sort of like a correlation in a way, that I've heard the term corporation as a dead entity. And I always thought about it in the sort of the business lingo and in the business term. But when you look at it in the term of life and existence and sustenance and growth and organics and all of that, you add a dead entity into that and it does not contribute. It just doesn't fit. And so that's, and then it, to me, it ties into a little bit about what Randall says about, you know, the communism capitalism equation. They're both really the same thing, two sides of the same coin. And it's almost like, you know, what will it be like for us to let go of capitalism and having corporations and having businesses, because those dead entities are basically just big giant vacuum cleaners that just suck things, and that's all they do is they pull, but they never seem to give back anything. They never seem to produce anything.
I just wanted to add this because I researched this, kind of had mind experiments about it, thought experiments. Human body is a magnificent open source. Open source knows how to deal with similarity and difference. You have similar things that are, you have a similar unit, but then that unit is different from something else. The best example of it is like a quilt. A quilt is made of a million different pieces. They're all different, but they're all under the same umbrella. In our reality, we have this completely upside down, where we have differences and similarities upside down. So you have a McDonald's in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, which is the same McDonald's as you have in Norway, as in Los Angeles. They're all the same, but the McDonald's hates Burger King. So the differences and similarities are completely upside down. In a world when we are in an enlightened reality, we won't have all these countries that hate each other. We will have 4 million cities. Each city is completely different, but they are similar to each other. So it's about, when we get the similarity and difference right, like a human body, or like an open source movement, or like a quilt, everything will shift.
Thank you, Hamid. I wanted to, we've been joined by someone named Joy, and I don't even know exactly who that is, but we'll see who they are when they reveal themselves. They're quietly in the background right now. Baret, I wanted to jump back to you because I wanted to ask you a question about, well, you mentioned the children, you mentioned play, and you mentioned how, you know, just by the energy that you're creating, that you can create and attract, nature, birds, all kinds of different things. Can you speak a little bit more to that as far as how can a person going forward generate more of that? Where can they be? What can they come from to be able to create more of that energy?
What I find is a lot of people are not present in themselves genuinely because they're not quite sure who they are or what they want out of life and the main objective in life is. For me, I feel like I'm the richest man in the world because I have peace of mind. And when you've got peace of mind, you will touch the soul of whoever you come in contact, and they really appreciate that. So when you're walking the talk and you're giving that light, people feel uplifted. But I'm very privileged because I've managed to preserve the child in me. So there's a difference between childish and childlike. But I do like to play and I enjoy playing, and I don't hide behind my face. So I don't wear a mask, so that people find it very comfortable. Sometimes you have to, you can intimidate people a little bit, but it's nice to shake people up, and sometimes people get a little bit wounded in the beginning because it's kind of throwing them off balance a little bit. It's something new, but then they come to their senses and say, well, that's a great way of living, Baret. It's the way forward. But happiness is a state of mind, and heaven is a state of mind. So it's and perfection has no destination, and it's a journey. So you've got to enjoy the journey that you're in, and that really uplifts everybody and every being.
Oh, good stuff.
Thank you, Baret. Thank you, Randall. I'm going to say hi to Keisha, who is our joy. And right on cue, we're talking about kids and childlike energy, and guess who shows up? And she's upside down right now, too. She's giving me the peace sign, but I can't see her. Well, maybe I'll change the view here so you can see her. I'm not sure if her microphone's working or not, but we have been joined by Keisha, at least in visual. Hello, Keisha.
She can't come on audio yet?
Yeah, I'm not getting any audio right now. So, she's on. But she,
Oh!
Telepathic communication.
Yeah, maybe she's working on it.
It's like a bird sighting. Woo!
It's unusual language.
By Joy.
Being playful.
Oh my God.
He's pointing to something. A
Can't
tree.
see anything.
It's a tree. It's a tree.
This is like
Like-
charades.
Like Sesame Street. It's a tree. It's a tree. Oh, look at that.
Randall, were you about to say something?
I guess, we might as well fill in here. I wish we could put her picture up at least, then she could do her thing with her
There she
eyes.
is.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is a beautiful call, you guys. Like we're touching on so many different things here, that the human mind has capacity to do, and that is to expand into spiritual, metaphysical, get back grounded right into the earth. I really appreciate your input, Baret. It was beautiful. That last round, I was just giggling and smiling the whole time, because it is, once you feel it, you can be alone. But then that's where I wanted to go with words, was what Angele said, is the language. A lot of times we get pissed off when we see a new word and we think, oh, Illuminati, or, government or whatever, like it's so obvious in that word. But the word alone, this week, somebody put it up on somewhere that I saw it, and it's, it's really all one, ALONE. Just put another L in there if you want, but it's all one. So once you realize that aloneness is where you recognize that all oneness, that you can never be alone. You know, if you want to be alone, you're screwed, because something's going to come into your head, you know, like, and it might be me, you know. It's going to be, at the very least, it's going to be God, because God is the oneness that is in all of us, and that is the goodness, right? Of course, we have the choice to go that other direction and think crazy thoughts, but what's the point? You know, it just eventually comes out in the wash. And that's where we're at now, in this beautiful balance and this beautiful harmony of this group alone, just saying, you know, all of the things that personal, authentic experiences, from Hamid's beautiful story of natural biological economics to, you know, Angele's recognizing that, you know, what happened to her and what happened to me was a true awakening, you know, out of any kind of belief systems, because the shock was so great to both of us that, you know, they had to put us in a nut house for a little while, because, you know, we couldn't just function. And I was functioning, like I was telling people stories, and you know, like they were just sitting around me with like doctors and nurses sitting at the bed listening to me with their mouth hanging open. Like, it was crazy, you know, like, who's the crazy one here? I'm telling a true story, you know, like, what's the matter with you guys? Aren't you keeping up, you know? Like, so shocking ourselves. And like Baret said, sometimes now a group like this, or our dear little Keisha, will shock the shit out of people, and they don't know how to handle it. Well, that's okay, you know, go and watch TV for a while again if you like, but eventually you're going to get shocked, and it's going to be a beautiful shock, because it's positive energy, and that's it.
Thank you, Randall. The one thing that we had as part of this show was basically to talk about, you know, creating the future into what we'd like to see. And I know Baret touched on it a little bit, but I don't know if I've really given the opportunity to anyone else to speak on that a little further. Are there certain things that you would either like to see or are envisioning as far as what you will see or expect to see in the very near future?
Well, I might like to speak kind of briefly on this, just in the sense that I like to be aware of, wonder, you know, where different perspectives. So I think a lot of people might be just like not able to engage with this. Like, what are you talking about? Sounds really crazy. But I really see this vision of the idea of the no crime. You know, there's so much that goes on in our world: secrets, lies, the unsustainable system of systems. It's really hard to feel secure and safe when there's so many people who are living in fear and scarcity. They are going to rob your home. We've got some, I guess, common human traits of sexual distortion. And I think that really, for me, March 2020, I came into awareness, like I always sort of knew, oh yeah, there's the porn industry, there's the prostitution, but the concept of human trafficking, like it's really big in this world from what I gather. And it's a challenging one to address. And I guess just this week, with a vision of our last week's conversation, I came across someone being interviewed who'd been rescued from that kind of human exploitation. And it was a really good conversation. It wasn't, but just reminding us just how big that is. And a couple little sentences jumped out at me. One was like, who are these buyers? Like, we in our society have an actual demand for these kinds of services. And the other one that really kind of shocked me a little bit, and I just feel to share it, anything you see in the adult industry, like porn and prostitution, exists in a child version. And I thought, wow, you know, if that's really true, I sure want to get down to business. So I do see that comfort income being an opportunity where, you know, so many of these stories, it's hard to put your mind around, but I really have dove in from time to time. I don't spend a lot of time down there, but I do want to be aware of what's going on in the world, with the purpose of, you know, finding the solution. You do have to look holistically at what's going on in order to create the solution. So we have, where was I? Did I lose my train of thought there? Yeah, the idea that there is such a need and demand for these seeming sexual services from adults and children, I think is pretty relevant. So, oh yeah, I was going to say is that when you have the comfort income, now you're trying to break down one of the avenues where many of these people come from various, often a poverty situation where you're thinking, well, for the sake of my child, I'm going to give my child to this person who's going to offer them a better life. And they end up in a trafficked situation. Or, you know, people that could be supporting a household because they're really tight in their economics. So I just think the money gets in there and it makes people, it puts them at risk of exploitation. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I want to step into that a little bit too, and the crime element that you just briefly alluded to, I think, Angele.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, if everyone's got more than enough than they'll ever need, what is the motivation to steal?
Yes.
Unless it's something personal where they want to specifically punish you for some reason. But if we don't own anything and yet we own everything because we share everything, then all of a sudden there's nothing to steal, because all of a sudden the ownership is gone. It's like there's no weight or importance on owning things anymore, because you know, you want that, it's yours, enjoy it, use it, you know, go ahead, it's fine. It's not like it's just mine, you know, and no one else can have it. It's like now it opens up things in a completely different way. And so I can even see people who've been used to living a life of crime as their normal way of living as also being completely overturned, because they're going, well, now I don't have to do this anymore. So what am I going to do? Who am I going to be? And I've asked that question myself a number of times, and I've shared this on past calls, where I've been on the hamster wheel for a long time and getting off of it now and going, okay, well, I've been on the hamster wheel so long, I have no idea what I want to do now. Who am I going to be? And so I was very fascinated by Baret's comments early on about, you know, more of us are coming into a new dimension and discovering ourselves in a new way. And I think Baret wants to say something more about that, and I definitely want to give him that opportunity. Baret, please.
Look, my take on this is no two beings are the same, no two souls are the same, and the interpretation, when you're interpreting information, frequency, energy, you're doing it from your own level. So, and fundamentally, what's important when you're in this 3D platform is, so that you know, the main objective is to know thyself to a point, to understand the essence of who you are. And there is a degree of right and wrong. There are universal laws, and but it's not a good or bad situation, because everything is a byproduct to a point. I advocate to peace. I like to neutralize situations, but I'm not here to condemn. I'm not to say he's right and he's wrong. I'm always very tempted to do that, to say they're the bad guys. But that's living in a competition situation. We're all trying to compete from an egoistic point of view. But when the ego dissolves and you're in that phenomenal stillness and you understand the role and the opportunism that's been given to you, which is all about gaining spiritual merit, which is the currency you then use at a later stage to go to a much higher realm. So that's the kind of downloads that I've had in recent years, and nothing is an accident. However, we are born as children, or at birth, we've been traumatized. So, and we spend most of our adult years trying to neutralize that trauma and find a way of rising above or the stuff that we've learned, which is indoctrination to a point. Like the real you, William, is not William, is it? You're a frequency, you're a particular frequency, the real you. And I'm sure the real you is not a man or a woman. So, but you're playing a particular role right now. And in essence of knowing who you are, you have this wake up within yourself, and you'll automatically understand what you'll be assigned to do. And it's just really assisting humanity to rise above and to go to a much higher perspective. So it's a bit of an upgrade situation right now, what's going on the planet, and that's in its simple way of seeing things, you know.
I had one more question for you, Barrett. I've heard it said in this transition from the dimension we came from to the dimension that we're heading toward, that ego will no longer exist. Is that, I don't know if that's accurate for one, but if it is, does that mean that it's sort of something that would naturally dissolve and disappear, or is that something that as a journey that we would go?
Yeah, I mean, if it's important for your spiritual evolution, because like I said, you have a soul agreement, you have a soul contract. If it's important for the advancement of your spiritual evolution, it will happen. I mean, that's how I celebrate my life. If it's important for William and I to get on, I thank the universe. If it's not important, I thank the universe. So you're now living in totality. And that's the way I operate this platform. So I don't feel that William's going to victimize the situation by being my friend or not. If it's important, it will go in a natural way. If it's not important, it won't go. It could be in a year's time, it might happen, or it might never happen. But I'm grateful for the exchange, you know. And that's the way I see it, and not to attach yourself to the illusion too much, because a lot of it is illusionary. The only thing that's real in the 3D world, the only thing that's real is the experience, because that's about the only thing you get out of it. That's why you're not really born, or you don't even die. You're in this optical illusionary thing which just feels so real. But the 5D is real.
Randall.
Yeah, beautiful. I wanted to comment on the word judgment, Barrett. Like I don't think we can ever stop judging. But we can definitely stop condemning. Okay, that's my little version of that. Because even if I think of like government, okay, and high-end banking officials that I, communicate with regularly. I mean, the government's officials won't talk to me anymore. They just run away. I've written numerous letters and I've talked to numerous government officials, and they just cut me off because they can't deal outside of that competitive nature world, and I won't go there. It's just, I want to talk about my judgment of the system and say, okay, I'm not going to challenge you, but I'm going to challenge this system. This system isn't right. And if you want to speak at an authentic adult level, or do you want to go back down into your little games of competition? And that is one place where I don't mind being condescending, is with someone in the banking realms or in the government who thinks they're fucking smarter than I am. Like that, then I will get to that point of bringing my ego back in and saying, it's got nothing to do with you, but let's just sit down and talk about this from the perspective of children that are still hungry. Like, it's ridiculous to think that we can manifest funds for all of these things, pretend that we're going to the fucking moon and all that stuff, and yet we still can't get manifest enough to feed the children or to look after people that are, that have their kingdom of heaven interrupted with some kind of metal contamination through either, a combination of programming, television, and education, or physical, contamination through food, sugars and heavy metals in their food. So, those kind of things are what these politicians, and even the highest level that I've reached in the banking world with Bauer Rothschild, which is, why I ended up there right off the bat, I'll never know. But, the man had an IQ self-professed of well into the 200s. he'd have a number on it, but there's no point in going there. It's just, but I believed it because the intelligence and then the words that would come out of his mouth, I'd never run into a human being like that ever before, you know, whether it was economics or technology or nature or spirituality, he could speak on it just like that, you know, and it was incredible to listen to him, and I really respected him for that. But when I bring him down to the basics and say things like, well, what do you mean bankruptcy? You just told us that the whole credit debit system is based on a lie. So you're going to say that because now this debit credit system built all of these assets in an account that those people are now we're indebted to? That's just complete insanity. And he'd just get pissed off at me and, you know, walk away, hang up the phone and stuff like that. And I don't really care. I just keep coming back with love, because that's the only way to surpass that system. Okay, that was definitely in place. And like Barrett said, we've gone beyond it now. And those of us that have just need to help others to get there too, and really understand that we do live on heaven. You know, this is heaven. The natural Mother Earth is nothing but, and that is the 3D realm in my world. Yeah. The other realms are going to be in our mind, you know, getting us used to living in that harmonic, natural, heavenly existence.
Yeah. Can I just say one thing about the judgment thing very quickly? Is
Barrett and then Angele.
Yeah, and I do judge, but there's judging and there's judging. Am I judging because I want to steal your energy? Am I judging you because, you know, I want to take advantage of your good nature? My judgment is how much to say, when to say it, because
Nice, yeah.
if listen, I'll tell you something which is very powerful, which in the business context, it did wonders for me. Yeah. When I used to when I did prospecting for finding new clients for my business and what have you, whenever I made a phone call, the first thing I would say to somebody, can you speak? Because most people cannot speak because they're so rushed off their feet. When's a good time for us to speak? So timing is everything. And the fact that you're in tune with that, and you're passing judgment to a point where you know what it's like being an empath, that timing is crucial. So Randall, I'm not saying that's what you're doing from an ego point of view, but you can intimidate people but by just being so you sometimes. Existentialism is such that you say yes sir, no sir, until you get to the level where you are in the position of power that you can actually make a move. But it's a puzzle for a lot of people. For me, what little I'm doing a very good job, and I'm happy to share the formulas that's working for me. It's not the be all and end all, but I'm really happy to bring, and I invite anybody to come, and because I've got I call it my inspirational farm, and they're welcome to come and stay for free, and because I don't do the money thing, you know, I don't chase the money. I've never worked for money. I've moved away from people who they're based on greed and they don't want to do anything for the community. I name and shame them in the nicest possible way, and I don't do it with words. But I recently met the president of Bulgaria recently, from one village down from us, because it was called the Lavender Festival, and we were promoting our goji berries, and he came. But I thought, wow, his energy is not very good. But I still didn't bow at him. But you know, you have to smile and you have to be inspirational. You have to inspire these beings, you know. And it is hard work at times, you know. But you have to be the change that you want to see in the world, because no one's going to come and do it for you. I was in an illusion, you know. The greatest opportunism is going to happen. It's going to knock at your door when you're not ready. You're never going to be ready, you know. And I find that all the time. All the best deals that I ever did, it was like 10 to midnight, where I was just about to go to bed. I had my robe on and I was so relaxed, and the phone went. And this is a deal. If you want it, you got to come and do it now. But I'm tired. But this is how it is. And what I always do good with my money. You know, people say money is the root of all evil. I have not found that at all. You can do such positive things with money, like plant trees and then inspire people to come and have a wonderful experience, you know. So I'm interested in doing some kind of fundraising, like $1 can change the world. It's not you need millions, you just need $1. It's a commitment. Make that $1, and then you can say to people, your $1 did this, and everybody's made a huge contribution. And I'm thinking of starting something like that. And it just because giving money to people who's in an authentic place, that you know you're doing good for the planet, you know.
Angele, you had something you want to add?
Yeah, I guess that judgment caught my attention too. For me, a real deep philosophy is the really big recommendation and thing that I think would just help anyone is the idea of transcending judgment. And I know, how do you define it? But I do feel that's a huge part of this presence and getting connected to the natural human being that we all are capable of doing. So transcending judgment, and then it becomes a discernment. And so it's, I don't know, I'm just playing with words a little bit here, and then you're making conscious choices. You're going to take the time to respond. There's sometimes these knee-jerk reactions. And I feel one of the biggest missing ingredients is willingness, curiosity. And I guess that's where I feel such an inspiration to see what different ways can I say something that might inspire that willingness and curiosity in another individual, because I do honor their free will. But I think we're in a little bit of a funny spot here because of these different radio signals. There's one radio signal that sort of has a police state of mind. They cannot accept differences, so the idea of unity to me equals understanding. So when we understand each other, then I just see so much good coming out of that. So transcending judgment to me is a very big marker, a hurdle of a new threshold for humankind. I'll say it big like that.
I just wanted to toss in a little bit here. The frequencies that you're speaking of, Angele, are very important because we are individuals, and we've got different levels of, if it's masculine and feminine energy or what it is, but sometimes it's just that warrior, like a lot of us on here, and most of us have met Sasha Stone, and some people will come across and say that he's very aggressive, like a real warrior. He makes the thunder roar, when he speaks and stuff, but yet I adore that man, and there's so many more like him out there. And so yes, we will get to a stage where judgment is just completely unnecessary. We've been programmed for so long into a state of mind control that somehow we have to shock some of those individuals that still think they have power in that mind control mechanism. And if it takes a little warrior once in a while, it takes a little warrior once in a while, and it's beautiful. So again, recognizing our unique roles because of our unique experiences as human beings, and what we can do for the collective to get us to that state of blissful euphoria where judgment is completely unnecessary, which is coming very fast. And we get there ourselves individually. I go there every day, into a state of meditative bliss, and it feels way, way better than anything else. But yet I still want to come back into my role as an advocate, if you want to use that language, or do my job within the realms of my experience, right?
Steward of Earth is another good one.
Yeah.
Steward of Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems that this is beautiful, everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Definitely a different path than I expected, but nonetheless, still.
Yeah, me too. It was great.
Yeah. Just a thought. Keisha was thanking us for all the ways we let her shine in her own unique way and for allowing her to be playful. It occurred to me, although she never quite said it, but it occurred to me that maybe she is in a space right now where she's had a vow of silence or maybe cannot speak at this moment. So perhaps that was part of the reasoning of the pictures and the playfulness. And she jumped in anyways to be a part of this. So thank you, Keisha. She's still on the line, but right now.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you too, Keisha. I kind of got it. She was sharing with us and adding an energy to this conversation. And I really appreciate you, Keisha. Thank you.
And Hamid had to duck out early, but he was very grateful for the experience and said, please feel free to invite us back. So I think this is a good time to wrap things up. Randall, if you would be kind enough to give us and some love being shared by Keisha right there. Randall, if you can give us a final blessing to end the call, I think we can call it a wrap today.
Well, I love the way that you created that entry and exit on the video, William, because that's what it's about. It's just that imagine and that song that you added to the words yourself and stuff. So thank you so much for that, William, and everybody else. It's been a pleasure. With abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria on my mind. I love you guys. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you. Bye.